Hi, I'm Michaela. Today I'm going to show you how I mix my acrylic paints with just water in a super simple process for the Dutch pour technique. I'm going to show you how to easily mix and measure the paint and water, how to check your consistency, which brands I like to use, and how I layer the colors to create those really beautiful cell and lacing effects. I will be doing demos on 3 8x8 canvases, and here's some of the pours I've done using variations of the technique for almost 5 years. Unfortunately, most are in Instagram's format, as this has been my primary social media account in the past. I want to mention that I've never taken an acrylic pouring course myself. I learned everything from watching YouTube videos, lots of practice, and trial and error. I'm going to put information in the description box about my story and also link the Dutch artist account who originally came up with this idea of blowing paint, now known as the Dutch pour. So let's get started. I've picked an analogous color palette. It's super easy if you're a beginner. Basically, any way these colors combine will produce a super vibrant and beautiful abstract. The brands I'm using are Amsterdam, Pebeo, and Winsor & Newton. I'm going to mix the paint in these graduated cups with measurements in milliliters, and I've got a squeeze bottle filled with water for easy paint mixing. I'm going to be using these 8x8 inch canvases. I've got my table covered with heavy duty plastic. I buy extra large lawn and leaf garbage bags. Make sure you thoroughly protect your surfaces when trying this, including your floors, and move any chairs and valuable items out of the way, because you might accidentally spill a cup of liquid paint or blow somewhere unintended with your blow dryer. I'm going to use 3 transparent colors. I'm going to go over them again as I pour and tell you why it's important. I am also using this one semi-transparent color. You can see there in the box. That tells you the transparency. I'm also using this metallic by Pebeo, and I'm going to use this Amsterdam titanium white as the base. This is super important because this color mixed with the transparents and the metallics is what creates cells. So let's start adding the paint. I'm going to put about 30 mLs. That's the lowest mark on the cup. I don't need a whole lot of paint for this, so I'm just going to squeeze the paint in there. I'm doing this one in like real time, and then the other colors I'm going to speed up. I pound the paint on the table to get it to level out, so you can see it's approximately 30 mLs. And then I'm going to get my 30 mLs of water. You can see there. And I'm just going to add this little by little, so bit by bit, incorporating it. If you do this too quickly or adding like a bunch of water at once, you're going to get a lot of clumps in the paint. So you got to take your time, scrape the bottom as you do it, just thoroughly mixing the paint. So there's the consistency, and I'm going to come back to that later as well. So now I'm going to go a bit faster, or this video will take forever. This is the primary magenta by Amsterdam. I'm just doing it in exactly the same way as I did with the ochre. This is the permanent magenta by Winsor & Newton. Again, same exact process. And this is burnt umber by Amsterdam. So same process again. Now I've got this Pebeo's iridescent precious gold, probably my favorite gold. It's so beautiful. So again, same exact process, just really sped up here. And now I'm going to do the white. So I've got a much bigger cup now, and it's not graduated. I'm going to fill this cup up to the line I made with water. And so you can also do this with your colors if you don't have graduated cups. And then I'm going to pour that water into another cup and put it aside. So now I'm going to add paint up to this line here that I made. And then I'll have equal parts measured paint and water. So this is quite a lot of white. And again, I'm just sort of banging it a bit on the table to get it to level out. And again, doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to add the water again bit by bit. Now this is a lot of paint. It does take quite a bit of time. And this is super important that you really do this thoroughly, because if you don't really scrape the bottom of the cup and mix it slowly and thoroughly, you'll get little chunks, little tiny dots of solid paint, and they're gonna, sometimes you can't see them when you pour, but then when it dries, you'll have these little dots, basically like a rough texture all over the pour, and it'll be pretty much ruins the pour. You have all kinds of problems. So you can see I just keep adding this little by little, and I'm going to get the paint to be super thin. So speeding this up a bit now. And now it's starting to look really thin, but there's still some paint on the bottom. And so I still have to add the remainder that's in the cup. And also you can do variations of this style. You can make your paint a little thicker. You'll have a little more control. It doesn't, I'm just giving you like a base starting point. And this in particular, I think gives really nice results with lacing and just that soft blown, like really pretty effects. So, but I change the consistency. I don't always do it the same way. So now you can see this is done. It's super thin. It doesn't leave a trace when I like swirl it around. Oh, there was a bit left in the cup. So, still had a bit to go, but yeah, what I was saying is you can definitely, like with thicker paint, you can use less quantity of paint. There's just all kinds of variations you can do with this technique. When it comes to creating cells, I've noticed that it's transparent paints mixing with Amsterdam titanium white that creates cells. Combining the 3 brands I'm using here when layering also creates cells. The Pabeo paints in particular create a lot of cells when mixed with Amsterdam. In addition, if you add another brand, say a Liquitex color, that can create even more effects. So it's blowing the different paints together that creates effects. Also, if you use another opaque color in between, those opaques can cover the transparent colors and sort of take over the pour. So it gets a bit trickier when you start using a lot of different types of color combinations. So here's the end consistency now. It's super thin. You can see like there's no trace at all. When I make the circular motion, you don't see like a line. Now I'm going to show, I had to pour this magenta into this little cup because you can't really see it in the big cup, but here you can see there's a little trace. It's just, you can see like a little line of paint before it disappears. And this consistency is obviously a little bit thicker, but it's still okay to use. I'm not going to thin this out anymore. The next color, this permanent magenta, it's super thick. So see, like it almost has a mound. And the thing about these dark colors, so I'm going to add some water to this. The thing about these dark colors is as they need more water to get to the same thin consistency. So there's not like an exact recipe of how much water to use because it's going to be different depending on the paint. And as the paint sits at room temperature, whatever temperature your room is, however high the humidity is, will also make the paint thicken up again. So I live in a really dry climate, so the paint thickens up really fast when it's in these small little containers and it's sitting even for 20 minutes, it will start to thicken up again. So just keep that in mind and sort of learn how to eyeball this consistency. So that's thin enough now. I'm not going to add any more water to it. And also, they don't all have to be exactly the same consistency. So you can experiment with, they can be slightly different, and you might get different results. You might get something really awesome. So I don't worry about consistency that much anymore. I want them to be kind of close in consistency. But basically this is just a starting point. It's just a guideline. So then when you get a certain result, you can know, well, that time I did it this way, and then the next time maybe I'm going to do thicker or thinner or whatever. It's just basically a guideline, and what has helped me a lot. So the gold is like this. That was the ochre before, but here the gold, it's like super thin. The trace is just because it's a metallic, but it's actually really, really thin, thinner than the other paints were. And then this brown color, this umber color, you can't really see it because it's just too dark, but basically it was thin enough and I didn't add any more water to it. So there are all the paints. There's my canvas. I'm just going to show here how I have push pins on the back of the canvas so it can sit up off the table. Obviously you don't want the paint like sticking the canvas to the table. So let's finally get started with the first pour, but first I'm going to show you the two other items you need, and that's a culinary torch and a blow dryer. The culinary torch is filled with this butane. There's a hole in the bottom of the torch for that. I'm going to use this mini blow dryer. You can see compared to my hand, it's really pretty small. It's a brand called Jinri. They sell Jinri on Amazon, but I haven't seen this little one there recently. It's only 1,000 watts. It gives really a lot of control. It's great for small canvases and starting out. So I recommend one that's similar to this. I did see one similar and I'll try to link it in the description box. So I'm gonna start now, get a good amount of my base paint on the canvas. So I would guess that's about almost half of the canvas covered in paint. And then I'm going to use the blow dryer on high, and it's got a cool, like a cool button. So I use it on high on the cool setting, and just very gently, you can see I'm just kind of barely touching it, just very gently spreading the paint out. So I'm using my hand to just, the paint that's dripped over the sides, to just kind of spread it onto the sides. Just get some paint on the sides. This will help the paint also run over the side, like when you blow it over the side. And I'm going to start with the Pebeo Iridescent Gold. It's actually Iridescent Precious Gold. I don't know if I said that. And now the Burnt Umber. This first one I'm doing in real time, and then the next two I'm going to speed up a lot, but otherwise it's going to take too long. This is the Permanent Magenta by Winsor & Newton, and then the Primary Magenta by Amsterdam, and this Gold Ochre by Amsterdam. I think these colors are just, they actually make like a pretty puddle. And then I'm going to use some gold again on the top. So there's the puddle. And I'm going to pour some paint around. And by the way, I think it's a lot easier to start out with the puddles than doing the lines of paint, which is why I chose to do it this way in this paint mixing. So I'm just torching these air bubbles out a bit. I don't care too much about air bubbles here. And now I've got my blow dryer. I'm gonna swipe the colors over this way. I'm just very gently and barely touching the white. And see, it's already having this really beautiful effect. So now I could torch now to see if I get any more cool cells popping up. This is really beautiful, by the way. Or I could wait and do it later. I think I'm gonna try and see what happens now. That's really pretty. First, I'm gonna do this part down here and see what happens. So this one turned out super pretty, tons of movement. I just torch it a little more, get some teeny tiny cells to pop up there. I always love adding like a few more little tiny details like that. And yeah, I'm just gonna put this one over to the side now. Just move it out of the way for the next one. Also, don't do this if you're practicing on more than one canvas. Put them away, like not close to each other when you're working, because you'll, bang into it or spray paint on it or something. Like, I've pretty much done all those mistakes. So I've sped up this next process, and I'm just going to start with the base paint again. It's going to be super quick this time. So got the base down, spreading it with the blow dryer on high again, and I'm starting with the brown, then the ochre, then the primary magenta, then the permanent magenta, and then the gold. And then I'm going to put some white around again, and it's a really big, I'm torching the air bubbles out. This is a really big puddle of colors for this small canvas, but I actually think that created some super cool effects here. This swipe here, it's so pretty. Just lots of cells popped up on this one. Just gonna torch it again. Gets even more cells to pop up. And sometimes as the paints sit for a few minutes, the cells become bigger. So just keep that in mind. Like, sometimes wait as you're doing this. Like, there's no rush. Paint's not going to dry that fast. These take like a couple days to dry. So here I go. Got some magenta up there. Oh, that's like really pretty, like deep shades of kind of burgundy color. And see how the cells got bigger? I just want to blow that one edge off a little bit. There. So I love this one. I think it's so cool. I don't know why, I just love the contrast of the dark colors with the vibrant colors, and then all those cells, that really cool lacing throughout the center. So that one's done. I'm not gonna try to change anything there. And I'm just gonna put it over to the side and try to do a third one where I actually want to try to mess it up a bit. So getting the white down, blow it out really quick, add the brown, ochre, primary magenta, permanent magenta, and then gold. And then I used a lot less color on this one, and the way I'm blowing it, I'm pressing harder. So I basically pressed a ton of white over it. Like I pressed down, and you can see the white now covered most of the color. So there's not much color coming up, and there's not a whole lot of cells, so some did pop up as I torched it. Now I'm gonna try to blow it out. I pushed the blow dryer more straight down as I was blowing, and it actually looks kind of cool. But you can see like the paint didn't blow as far across the canvas. And now I'm going to try to blow that over the side, and those colors are very muted because there was a lot of white covering them. So that's not usually something I go for, but it is pretty here. So, and I go for different things all the time, so I don't know why I say that, because I'm always changing what I'm doing. But now I'm trying to think of like how I can really screw this up. So I put the blow dryer on high, and it just sprays paint everywhere, just all the way off the canvas. It kind of looks ruined now, but I'm just gonna put some white back over the top and try to fix it. So you can really play around with this technique. You can even scrape part of the paint off where you messed it up, and then put more white down and layer the colors again. You don't have to like scrape the whole canvas. So I'm debating here, but I decided to put the white, and then I'm puddling in exactly the same order again. And this time I'm trying to swipe it a little better. Get a lot of cells to pop up. And I just blew it over there, kind of blew all the cells away, but I'm just going for it. I just keep blowing, and actually it's kind of cool. I just want to get this little corner there, get the magenta over the corner. Okay, so here's a final close-up of the three of them wet. That's a mound of paint, and that third one that I'd kind of messed up. See how that dries, and there's the first one. Lots of movement in that one. So there they are, all three of them together. I totally love how they turned out. I actually really like the center one too, the one I thought I messed up. So let's see how they dried. So all of them dried really nicely. Even this one here on the left doesn't have any cracks, despite like that big puddle of paint that was sort of in the middle there. And just, wow, the colors are so vibrant. I really love this color combination. The one on the right is maybe my favorite, even though it looks a little dark here in this light. This is when the sun isn't out. But here, like now the sun is shining on them, and like that gold is crazy. That iridescent gold is just crazy when the light hits it. It's one of my favorite colors to use. All 3 pours are still unvarnished. I would love to hear what you think about them. Please let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I hope this inspires you. I hope it was helpful. And please give it a like if you made it to the end. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.